Arsenal's title hopes have been dealt a major blow on a weekend where Liverpool didn't play. Mikel Arteta's men missed a major opportunity at Craven Cottage, held to a 1-1 draw and heavily frustrated. So from the tactical mistake that was made to Arsenal's midfield problem, why Gabriel Martinelli could be in trouble, and the truth behind our set pieces. As per, let's break it all down and discuss the 5 things we learned from Fulham 1, Arsenal 1. Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Bass14. Welcome back to your boy channel, and I hope you guys are doing sensational. Even if things didn't go in Arsenal's favour, we have got a lot to break down. So as per, smash a like on the video if you enjoy and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Help your boy on his road to 300,000 subscribers. But starting off with Arteta's tactical issue. On a day of reunions where Arsenal faced former star boy Emil Smith-Rowe, walking out alongside Bukayo Saka. Before the game itself, the headlines were elsewhere, with Kaya Kanek reporting that both Gabriel Martinelli and Ricardo Calaferi were not going to be available in the matchday squad. Not only was that a major blow, but in terms of left backs, there was also no Alexander Zinchenko. So going into a game with no White, Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Calaferi and Zinchenko, Mikel Arteta's back four was Partey, Saliba, Kiwior and Timber, with Thomas at right back and Timber at left back. We've seen this in the past against top sides and it makes sense defensively, but in a game that Arsenal were going to have a lot of possession against a stubborn Fulham mid-block, that you have to be very incisive to break down. For Thomas Partey, he could have easily scored and should have scored, but playing at right back he dropped a 6.6 rating, his lowest in a while, winning only 1 of 7 ground duels, despite completing 79 passes and 5 accurate long balls. When it comes to beating a mid-block, a key part is always your incisive passing. In those tight gaps, firing off balls to Odegaard and Saka and our most dangerous players was always going to be the key to winning this game. While Jorginho has the ability to probe as well, find balls in behind and cause issues there. Without Thomas Partey in midfield, Arsenal just aren't as dangerous. But the bigger issue for Arsenal was the left back. With Yuri and Timber having thrived on the right hand side for so long, playing him in left back may be by force, but inadvertently it weakened both of our sides. Not only was the left hand side too inverted, with Timber being right footed and always cutting inside, not able to provide an overlap to our left winger, but on the right hand side where he was so successful with Bukayo Saka, Thomas Partey wasn't able to overlap at the same rate. For Timber, it was also a 6.6 rating, with 1 clearance and 1 tackle, 1 ground duel 1, alongside 44 passes completed and 1 key pass. The issue for Arsenal was dynamics, completely disrupted because of injuries. For an Arsenal side that had won 4 games in a row and scored a whopping 15 goals, not only were Arsenal not as dangerous but also not as fluid. And it makes sense why Mikel Arteta chose Timber at left back. Against a Fulham side that is very dangerous in transition, an in-form Alex Iwobi and Adama Traore, picking experience was always going to be a safe option. But when you've got a natural left back like Kieran Tierney on the bench, and another left-footed profile Miles Lewis-Skelly, Arsenal being weaker at left back was one thing, but by taking Timber out of right back and Partey out of midfield, Arsenal were then weakened in 3 areas instead. To start Miles Lewis-Skelly would have definitely been bold, but having seen Mikel Arteta always pick seniority in the past, and sometimes even cost him, in a game like this where Arsenal needed to be at their fluid best, not having that same tempo as normal, a dynamic overlap on the right hand side of Bukayo Saka, and progressive passes from midfield from Thomas Partey, at times made Arsenal very predictable. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was a tactical mistake, but the question is more about bravery. Having seen Mikel Arteta adapt in the past via injuries, moving players across positions, rather than playing them in natural ones, it's cost Arsenal in the past, and I wonder going forwards, can we see a braver Mikel Arteta when you've got certain profiles out on the bench? What did you guys make of Mikel Arteta's tactics? And do you think we should have started a more natural left back? Moving on to the second thing, Arsenal's over-reliance. In a game that Arsenal started off fantastically, dominating the opening exchanges and penning Fulham in, them scoring their goal was definitely a shock. And we then look at their XG of a 0.11 to Arsenal's 2. Not only did Arsenal make a lot more chances, but we also had far more possession, nearly 70%, 64 final third entries and a 3.3 expected threat created, a whopping 86% field tilt. Numbers wise, Arsenal were utterly dominant, with even Mikel Arteta saying after the game, gutted we didn't win, we deserved to win that match. And when you think about the chances the Arsenal created and the amount the Fulham didn't, it's hard to disagree. But the issue I have is more of our open play threat. On the right hand side where you had Saka and Odegaard both starting together, the captain dropped a 6.7 rating, with 72 touches and 49 accurate passes, 3 key passes as well, but 0 out of 2 dribbles and 1 out of 7 ground duels. I thought that Odegaard struggled physically, up against a physical mid-block in Fulham that were very aggressive, where against low blocks he's able to probe and find passes in behind. This game was far more about being efficient, getting the ball to Saka as soon as possible, but also giving us more of a dynamic overlap, with no Yuri and Timber where the space was there for Odegaard. But the issue is with a far weaker right foot, even when he does, teams don't fall for it. I wouldn't say it's an issue with the player, I think it's more of the profile. When it comes to controlling play and setting the tempo, Odegaard is majestic, one of the best controlling number 8s in world football. But in a game like this, also needed more of a number 10. A final action player to break the lines and make a moment out of magic. When you think about Arsenal and our most unstoppable attackers, the one that stands out for me is Bukayo Saka. able to beat his man, find a cross and make something out of nothing, cut inside and smash the ball into the bottom bins. It's all about having an unstoppable profile. Man City have had it with Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, a combination regardless of any tactic City are able to utilise. You then have Liverpool with Trent and Salah, another very similar level combination. For Arsenal, I think we're very over-reliant on Bukayo Saka to provide that moment, and if he doesn't, we can't really share that responsibility. This is definitely a game where Arsenal did more of a ball carrier, and while Odegaard might be fantastic in tight spaces, he's not quite a powerful ball carrier, able to drive his team up the pitch like a Bukayo Saka. And the fact that Mikel Arteta took him off when Arsenal needed a goal, 10 minutes to go, bringing on Ethan Nwaneri, a more efficient ball carrier, was him seeing the same weakness. In games like this where Arsenal have control, Odegaard is fantastic at sustaining that, but when it comes to that final action, I still believe Arsenal need another player on top of Saka, an unstoppable profile to share the burden, because in terms of Bukayo dropping a 7.5 rating, with 1 shot on target, 1 off target, 3 successful dribbles and 30 accurate passes, another big chance created, not only was a right hand side weaker with no Yuri and Timber, but I also wanted a lot more from Kai Havertz, dropping a 6.9 rating despite getting 1 assist, with 3 shots off target and 1 big chance missed, 15 accurate passes and 1 key pass. One thing that Havertz for me needs to add to his game if he's going to be a striker is aggression inside the box. When you think about the performance of Victor Gyökeres or Alexander Isak, with them being pure strikers from a young age, when inside the box they seem to come alive, whether it's jumping in front of their man and trying to cause issues. Havertz feels more of a patient type of striker, waiting the ball to come to him and then make an opportunity. His movement at times as a secondary player can be fantastic, but when you're the focal point of a side, he needs to be far more active in the box. In a game that Arsenal threw in 32 crosses, but only met 8, if Havertz is to be our number 9 this season, we need to see far more presence inside the box. Moving on to the third thing, Martinelli's trouble. Having started the game against Man United and dropped again for this game here, Mikel Arteta once again rotating the left hand side. For Trossard, he only played 60 minutes and dropped a 7.3 rating, with only 1 shot all game, 1 dribble and 2 key passes. I won't go as far as saying it was an awful performance, but when it comes to being a starting left winger for Arsenal, when you compare to the quality on the right hand side, Trossard once again proved himself as a profile that is far more useful off the bench than as a starter, because he might be a solid player, but we're talking about the elite margins to go and win a title. Arsenal will need to be extra critical. So going into the second half, where Arsenal still 1-0 behind, with the very worrying stat that they've only won 1 of the previous 23 away games, when trailing at halftime, our last win being a 4-2 win versus Aston Villa in February 2023. In terms of Martinelli, he dropped a 6.4 rating, with 0 out of 3 dribbles, only 9 passes, 0 accurate crosses and 1 ground ball 1. Things could have been so different if he had just stayed on side, providing a fantastic cross of Bukayo Saka to score a potential winner. But with VAR calling it marginally offside, not only were Arsenal robbed of the winner, but more importantly we're looking at Martinelli. The slight margins that can cost you a title, a point that could have been turned into 3. The issue that Martinelli has is the bigger picture. Having seen Mikel Arteta approach many left wingers in the previous markets, put up £60 million for Mykhailo Mudryk, then have more interest in Nico Williams. We've often talked about Martinelli getting platformed differently, with the arrival of Mikel Merino and Ricardo Calafiori, trying to replicate the dynamics of 2022-23, where alongside Xhaka and Zinchenko he was thriving. But even in that year where he scored 15 league goals, we can't forget, from January onwards there was actually a period where he was dropped, out of form, struggled to beat his man. Fast forward to 2024 and we're still seeing that same issue. A predictable style of dribbling where he seems to have one skill move, not able to burst past his man like a Bukayo Saka. When he came through Arsenal initially in 2019, he was seen as a maverick. In games against Liverpool and Trent Alexander-Arnold, bursting passing time and time again and embarrassing him. But whether it's a lack of confidence right now or overthinking it, Martinelli's game hasn't been at the level. And when you then look at what Arsenal are choosing to attack, there's obviously a clear bias on the right hand side. And while we can talk about balance and also using the left hand side better, I'm starting to think this is more Mikel Arteta doing it by design, attracting teams towards the right hand side, then having the players on the left that can exploit that space and crash the box. Which makes sense when you think about the signing of Mikel Merino and some of the goals that Martinelli scored this season. On the right hand side we have our creators, the left hand side is meant to be about finishers. Arsenal fans are getting to the stage now where we're thinking about the long term though. With all the talk of a brand new striker and Alexander Isak or Victor Gyökeres, you have to ask the question, is signing an elite left winger just as important? It's not about making Martinelli a scapegoat, but a stage of the Arsenal project where we're looking at very harshly. Having seen fan favourites replaced in the past like Aaron Ramsdale, Mikel Arteta has shown he can be ruthless when he needs to be. Because when we talk about the fine margins again, a year for Arsenal, they have to go win the league title with City on. Martinelli's potential is always going to be there. But when we're talking about winning and getting ourselves over the line, could signing an elite left winger close that margin and get us over that line? Take the burden off the right hand side and make Arsenal far more balanced. Talk to me down below in the comments on your current thoughts on Gabriel Martinelli. Do you see a potential resurgence? Or are you looking to the transfer market for a new option? And if so, what player are we talking? Moving on to the full thing, set piece myth. On a day that Arsenal once again needed to go desperately, 1-0 down at halftime and things looking bleak, Set Piece FC rose once again, as Arsenal scored yet another goal from a corner for the 4th game running. for the first time since October 2021. Going into a game with so much eyes on the set pieces, with even Jamie Carragher saying before, you've got to be more aggressive. You can't just allow them to run through and let them do what they want. But that is exactly what we did, with William Saliba scoring for the second game running, thankfully offside and found by Kai Havertz, who missed his chance but thankfully it fell to Saliba. And what that showed was a variation in Arsenal set pieces, not crowding the goalkeeper and more targeting an area, where in the past you had Ben White distracting goalkeepers. This year Arsenal set pieces are always changing, making it that much harder for teams to predict. It is earning Arsenal points that hopefully will be vital. With stats before the game that Arsenal scored 22 goals from corners over the last 2 seasons, now 23. The intriguing thing is when you look at these numbers, you've also got some top teams in Bayer Leverkusen and Man City. What that shows is that Arsenal are the only team targeting set pieces. Top clubs from across Europe are also trying to emulate the same, where in the Premier League Arsenal average a goal from every 16 corners taken, when you've got the quality of a delivery from Declan Rice, which always seems to be on point. In this game he dropped an 8.2 rating, with a 0.6 expected assist, 51 accurate passes, 3 key passes and 2 big chances created. He should have easily had 2 assists. For Arsenal, corners are becoming our go-to chance creation method. They might get called stoic for it and they might get criticised for it, but ultimately we have found a controlled chance creation method that we can rinse time and time again that is creating Arsenal major opportunities, becoming the first side in Europe's top 5 leagues to create 10 big chances via set pieces in 2024-25. If the whole idea of football is to create chances and score goals, there's nothing wrong from also using set pieces to their advantage, a weapon in their armoury to turn to, where an open play games are a lot tighter and teams are very defensive. But it's also maximising their final third possession, keeping the ball in the final third to get their corners in the first place. That requires dominance and that most certainly isn't easy. Likewise in terms of delivery, finding players inside the box in a congested area, in the right moment at the right time. It's not something to look down upon, it's something to envy. But then you have an entirely different conversation. When talking for open play, Arsenal have created a singular open play expected goal in only 3 of 50 league matches this season, ranking 13th in the Premier League for open play XG. Those are numbers nowhere near good enough for a title fighting team. If Mikel Arteta's quote of being kings of everything is true, these numbers need to improve as soon as possible. And when we talk about solutions, for me a major thing for Arsenal is going to be signing more runners. When playing against teams that are in low or mid blocks, a key part is movement, and quite often Arsenal are very static, choosing to pass the ball around instead, rather than trusting their movement to make runs in behind. Whether it's the current players we have right now or brand new signings, there is no denying Mikel Arteta's team needs to improve from open play. But the whole idea of corners not being sustainable, despite consistently creating Arsenal massive chances, that for me is a lie and a completely different conversation. Moving on to the 5th thing, opportunity missed. On a day that Arsenal had 4 big chances and missed 3, having now made it 5 draws in the Premier League this season, the stats may have been enough able, but the result definitely wasn't. Come half time, Fulham might have only had a 0.04 XG, but more importantly they were 1-0 up. A goal for Raul Jimenez targeting our left hand side, running it behind Kivior and scoring a goal that for me was way too easy. With Kivior starting once again as a left centre back, he dropped a 6.7 rating, with 2 clearances and 1 interception, 0 ground balls, 1 and 2 in the air. For the goal itself, we had to do a lot better. When you think about Gabriel Martinelli, a key part of his defensive ability is how he commands his areas and blocks off passes. For Kivior on the ball, as you saw against Man United, he's perfectly fine. But against teams that are trying to get him behind in transition, for Kivior to be a dependable backup left centre back, Kivior needs to dominate his zone better, win the ball in the first place, and then block off the passing lane after. But it definitely was a game that I thought Arsenal were unlucky, with Fulham only having a 0.1 XG. For them to get a point was definitely fortunate, but in a 38 game season where you definitely have games like this, the reason why fans are more annoyed at it is because of the bigger picture. Having dropped points to games against Newcastle and Bournemouth, with now 5 draws and 2 losses, dropping points in 7 different games. On a weekend that you had Liverpool's game postponed, then City drawing 2-2 against Crystal Palace, not only did Arsenal have a major chance to build a gap on City, but also bridge the gap to Liverpool to only 4. But we now find ourselves in 3rd place, 6 points behind Liverpool, who of course have a game in hand, but also 2 points behind 2nd place Chelsea, who after beating Spurs 4-3, are now in the question of a title race. The closest team to Liverpool 4 points behind. Of course we are still in December and there's a lot of football left to play, but Enzo Maresca's had a very strong start to the season, with Chelsea having now won 3 league games in a row. They've also had a very tough start to the season, but with no Champions League football to focus on, an extra squad coming off the bench, and over £1 billion in investment. Let me know in the comments, do you think Chelsea are also now in this title race? But for Arsenal themselves, it definitely was a massive opportunity missed. A missed chance to close the gap on Liverpool and build some pressure. But as the captain Martin Odegaard says, we don't care about the other teams, we have to look at ourselves instead. And that's the only thing that Arsenal can do right now. We could talk about the red cards earlier in the season or the injuries itself, but that is not in our control. What is in our control is our next 6 games. Monaco at home, Everton at home and Palace at home. Then Palace away, Ipswich at home and Brentford away. I'm focusing mainly on those next 5 league games in particular. Having dropped points in this game once again, of course going to Fulham away is never easy. having seen that last year for ourselves. But these next 5 games against teams that are in the bottom half, 15 points are up for grabs, and for Arsenal to stay in this title race, they most likely will need all 50. But that is the video there and there, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to smash a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to follow your boy on all of his social medias, then the links are down below in the description. But that was the 5 things we learned from Fulham 1, Arsenal 1, in a game that Arsenal did not get the result they wanted. We didn't quite close the gap, and Chelsea jumped over us. It is a long season ahead, and next up for Arsenal is Monaco in the Champions League. So my friends, I'll see you guys very soon. Take care of yourselves, and in a bit.